Hi, so I am KB with Nerdophiles. How are you?
Hi, KB. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am doing well. Oh my gosh, what a fantastic documentary. My first question really is, how did you, as the director, kind of balance the actual footage? Like, what was the determination behind balancing the actual footage versus the reconstructed footage that you used within the documentary?
So I came to the story after it had finished. So it was very much about like going back and talking to people and finding out what went on. And that kind of took like a number of years. And so like before we thought about footage at all, by speaking to people, I put together like the story of how to best tell this story, like a script of how to best tell this story in the most compelling way. And then it was a matter of looking out there, reaching out to people and saying like, does anybody have any footage that, from say this competition in Italy or a certain moment in Dahab? And sometimes we'd come up with like one picture, and then we'd see somebody in the background who might be holding something that might look like a camera. We'd say, "Who's that?" And we find out, okay, that's Stefano. We get in touch with Stefano, and Stefano would say, "Oh, I think I might have that on a hard drive in my wardrobe." And it was COVID, so everybody was at home and they had time to go look in the wardrobe. Um, and like Stefano, for example, found footage that was like 500 gigabytes of material of Alessia, and that just kind of kept happening every moment that we went out to the world and said, like, "World, do you have? Was this moment? Was this day filmed?" Time and time again, we were met with material from the day. So I would always favor real, the footage from the day, the real documentary moment, because the freediving community were so good at documenting themselves, and so was Stephen and Alessia, that we were blessed with the material that already existed. So once we did the interviews, and then we placed the archive. We had an incredible editor, Julian Hart, who really like helped to weave the stories with together and make the scenes. Even when we only had like, three or four shots, he would be able to put it together in a way that felt like he'd six cameras on it. And then it was about like, okay, but here are the gaps. And it was only when we'd use as much of the archive as we could possibly use that we then say, but we just do need to cover this moment that say wasn't shot on the day. Um, and so we storyboarded those scenes. We knew exactly what we needed to shoot, and we shot in a way that reflected the way the material was shot on the day. So we ended up filming in Dahab in Egypt, in the Bahamas, in Mexico, in cenotes in Mexico, and in the sea. So I didn't know anything about filming underwater beforehand, and we had an incredible team of scuba diving cinematographers, but also free diving cinematographers, and like that's something that like when a free diver is shooting, there's a kind of fluidity that's kind of in the material that you don't really get with the scubas, because they're kind of like tied down a little bit, but the free divers can kind of move with the free diver that's in the shot, and it can just look so different and really, really stunning. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I would have never, I mean, honestly, because I knew nothing about free diving going into this. And when you said crafting like the most compelling story, it really was because when I first started watching it, I thought that it was going to be more of a love letter to Alessa. And then by the time you get to the end, it becomes really a love letter about Stephen. And so it was so interesting to kind of go through the entire thing. But you saying the technicalities behind it and saying that you had free diver cinematographers, it's absolutely incredible to me because like even just learning about their culture, their community, and what such high regard they hold each other, and then knowing that someone went down there with a, I'm like it's making me a little bit nervous, but also it's so incredible, but
You know,
also I'm getting very hot. Like,
a lot of the material that's in the archive material is also shot by freediving cinematographers. So that's why we kind of brought on freediving cinematographers to really reflect that fluidity. But there's one man, Dan Verhoeven, was actually the first person that I spoke to about the documentary, and he is has been filming freediving competitions as a freediver for years, and a lot of the footage in the film you see is his.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me just tell you, it's incredible. I truly cannot wait for people to see it because it is so interesting. There's so much information that you get. And then even just the individuals and the subjects that you pick. I mean, Alessa and Steven alone, just their hearts and the types of human beings that they are, and then their drive and their passion in this community was so incredible to watch and to see. And I think it is quite brilliant and it is quite emotional too. And much like I said, I mean, I was holding my breath kind of like majority of the time because it is quite nerve-wracking, but in a way that brings about a humanity that you don't often get to see, I feel like, within this community. So just thank you so much for chatting with Nerdophiles. Really appreciate it and truly cannot wait for everyone to see it.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really nice talking to you as well, and I'm glad you enjoyed the film.
Yes, thanks. Have a great day.
You too.